Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a cute little mini purse that I freehanded so many times that I decided I would finally actually make a tutorial for it so you guys can make one if you want. But yeah, let's jump right into it. First, for materials, we have weight for acrylic yarn, and this is loops and threads. I have scissors, a darning needle, and a 4.25mm hook. So the three stitches we're going to use for this top are foundation double crochet, slip stitch, and double crochet. So if you aren't familiar with those and want to do a review before you actually start the pattern, then you can check out my ultimate beginner tutorial because I show how to do those in that. But otherwise we can jump right into it. I will kind of like slightly go over it, but I'm not going to go super in depth. So starting off, we're going to make a slip knot and put the yarn on our hook. Then we're going to start off by chaining 2, and we're going to make our first foundation double crochet. So yarning over, going into the 2 loops in the side of that first chain, yarning over, pulling through those 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're going to continue, so yarning over and going through those 2 loops that were created on the side, pulling through, going through 1, going through 2, and then going through 2. So you're going to keep doing these foundation double crochets until it reaches the length that you want it to be this way. So basically this is going to be the bottom of the bag, and then we're going to build it up this way. So make sure this is just like the length that you need it to be. So I'm doing my last foundation double crochet, and I ended up doing 30 total. So what we're going to do next is a little bit unusual to how we normally would change rows, because what we want is the bag to start to like curl upwards so that it doesn't like just keep being a flat panel. And so what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and we're going to make 2 double crochets into this side. So it doesn't really matter where you put it into, you kind of just want to go through 2 loops, but if you can't find 2 loops to go through, that's fine. And there we go. Then we're going to go into this next part, and we're just going to double crochet this entire side. And so you can already kind of see that it's like standing up on its own to make that bag shape. And then coming up to that corner, we're going to keep doing these double crochets into every stitch up to the last one, and then we're going to do 2 along that side. We're not going to chain before we do these side double crochets though. And on this side I'm having a harder time getting through 2 loops, so I'm just going to go through 1. It's completely fine. And then we're going to move on to the next side, doing our double crochets. So now once we get to this corner, we are not going to end off the row because if you can see there's no like clear end point. We just keep double crocheting. And so what I would do is kind of just keep track of where your little end is because that lines up with your middle row. Because if you lose track of your rows, you might end up making one row longer than the other. But another way to keep track is just like lay it in half like this. And then you can kind of tell there's one row of these double crochets on both sides. But you just keep doing this over and over, double crocheting the entire time, and once it reaches the length that you want it to be, then you can pause and do those straps. But until then, you're just going to keep doing these double crochets. If you want, you can keep folding it up to check if it's the length that you want yet, but otherwise you can just focus on doing those double crochets until it looks about right, and then you can measure it up just to make sure. Another way to remember how far you've progressed is that your end will always be when you're halfway through. So I've done my second row on this side, but I haven't done it on this side yet, and I'm just meeting this end. So that's another little marker you can use. You could also honestly put a stitch marker on the other side, but I just feel like that's not necessarily going to help because you don't need to know which stitch you're going into, you just need to know if your sides are even. Once the purse has reached the length you want it to be and you've finished your last row, meaning that your end is going to be in this corner, you're going to pause and fold it up so that you have it completely flat. As you can see, I still have one more stitch left technically on this row based on like how it is being flat. The reason we want to measure this is because I'm going to put that last stitch in, and now once you have it like that, you're going to do 3 more stitches just like normal, 3 double crochets. But then we're going to start doing our straps. So the point of this is just to make sure that the strap wraps around the same amount on both sides. So you're going to chain 2, double crochet 4 times, then you're going to chain 2 again, and double crochet 4 times. Your last double crochet is going to be into the chain. So for every row after this, you're just going to copy this pattern, doing those double crochets and those chains until the strap reaches as long as you want it to be. But when you're measuring the strap, you don't want to just measure it like straight out. You want to measure it like curving to this other side once it's long enough, or you can even measure it by like trying it on and holding it up with one hand to connect it to see if that's the length you want it to be, because there's no set amount that it should be, especially because you could make this like a really long purse or you can make this like a tiny little purse, so it just depends on your preference. Once it has reached the length you want it to be, you want to make sure that when it's laying flat like this, that your hook is on the right side. If it's on the left side, I would just do 1 more row, and if you don't want to add too much length, you could just do single crochets for that row. But you're gonna line this up with this corner here. So this is the corner stitch, and then you're gonna go 2 stitches out, and that is where you're gonna put your first slip stitch. Then with your next one, you're going to go on the outside loop of your chain, on the outside loop of your other chain, and make a slip stitch, and repeat that all the way down. Also including that chain. and doing your last slip stitch. Then you're going to slip stitch once into the next double crochet right here, and now you can chain one and cut off your work. Okay, and now all we have to do is weave in our ends, but honestly, if you're feeling lazy, you could totally just like pull the end through onto the inside of the bag and then like it's not even visible anymore, but I will weave in at the ends on this one just in case I end up selling it. So for this first one, I'm just gonna lay the yarn over my needle, pull it off, and then wiggle it through like that so it's easier to put on. And then I'm just gonna put it through to the inside because I would rather have any like bumps or stuff like that left from the end on the inside side of the bag. Now I'm just gonna push it through random areas on the inside until I no longer can keep the yarn on my hook, and then I will cut it off. And there we go. Put it back to normal. And then on my next one, I'm going to do the same thing, laying the yarn over my needle, and I'm just gonna weave through the tops of some of these stitches. And then I'm gonna go on the inside and go through some of the stitches themselves, just in a random pattern. And then the last time I'm going to cut it off. And there we go, we are completely done with this cute little mini purse. Perfect for like an everyday purse when you don't really have too much to carry on you, or even like bringing a lunch with you somewhere. Just nice and adorable. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell this one on my Depop or my Etsy, but if you want to check on my Depop, it'll probably be on there first. Otherwise, if you have any questions, make sure to let me know down below. And if you make one of these, please make sure to tag me because I love seeing projects people make. And that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!